Unspoken Issues.
UltraForce Avengers, number 1. On sale date, September 14th, 1995, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Story is Becoming More Like a God, written by Warren Ellis, art by George Pérez, inked by Paul Neary, art to bear, Ken Branch, Dennis Jensen, Carl Kessel, Robin Riggs, John Statema, and Al Vey, lettered by Todd Klein, and colored by Robert Alvord and Emily Canals. The story opens on a cosmic scale, with a radiant hand reaching out across space and reality itself. Power ripples outward, tearing through mountains and landscapes like paper, hinting at the presence of a force becoming more and more godlike. The scene shifts to the Nevada desert, where the sky is usually clear and scorching but now darkens ominously. The temperature drops sharply and a thunderous storm splits the air. From the churning clouds, Loki, the Norse god of evil, emerges with glee. He arrives on Earth once more to plague his half-brother Thor, delighting in the chaos and in Thor's tendency to protect humanity, whom Loki derisively calls his pets. To bait Thor into action, Loki unleashes a terrible presence. Something crashes down with violent force, carving craters into the desert floor. From the wreckage emerges a grotesque version of the Hulk, half dead, his irradiated body swollen with tumors, his face twisted into a monstrous snarl. He is monstrously strong, tormented by pain, and nearly driven mad. Watching from above, Loki smiles in satisfaction. This broken but powerful creature will serve his plans perfectly. In the quiet San Fernando Valley, a morning paper lands at the doorstep of Kevin Green's home. Half asleep, Kevin stumbles out to retrieve it, yawning as his mother calls for him to bring it back inside. But when he unfolds the front page, the headline shocks him awake. Hulk attacks new passenger train. Kevin stares in disbelief. He knows the Hulk, has collected every clipping on him, and insists this isn't in the Hulk's nature. Sitting at his computer, he furiously types, convinced the authorities will only kill the creature if they find him. His urgent electronic plea is clear. Hulk must be found. Please respond immediately. The desperate message shoots across America's wired networks, reaching all the way to the Baxter Building in New York. But before it can properly arrive, a watching presence intercepts it with a glowing red eye, muttering, "This simply won't do." The Fantastic Four, a very different-looking Fantastic Four, notice a flicker on their systems, though Reed Richards can't explain why the screen has gone dead. Then, at the office of Donald Blake, a nurse notes that an odd email about the Hulk has somehow slipped into their medical files, but dismisses it as nothing. Donald excuses himself, needing to step outside, while Loki smiles unseen. He has rerouted the message with his magic, ensuring it serves his own schemes. Still, the corrupted signal bounces through the digital world, carried from coast to coast in Los Angeles. It lands in the jury-rigged workshop of Bob Campbell, a brilliant yet chaotic engineer. Bob stares at the urgent plea on his screen, then turns to gaze at a prototype suit of armor, his dream creation waiting for a purpose. Elsewhere, the transmission reaches the Avengers. Giant Man warns Wasp about the Hulk's danger, his rages bordering on something beyond human control. Wasp teases him to relax, but Hank remains firm. If the Hulk is loose, they cannot take the threat lightly. Sometime later in the Nevada desert, chaos reigns. Giant Man lies broken and burning from Loki's cruel sorcery, while Wasp screams his name in anguish. Loki mocks the devastation, insisting Hank Pym had it coming, while Thor denounces him as filth. Thor condemns his brother's needless cruelty, reminding him this slaughter was born only of Loki's malice. But Loki rages in return, shouting that his quarrel was with Thor alone, blaming Hank for standing in the way. The confrontation escalates until Thor brings down Mjolnir with fury. The hammer strikes, but when the dust clears, Loki has vanished in a flash of mystical light. Thor curses him to hell while the fallen Avengers are tended to. Wasp cradles the gravely wounded Hank, whispering for him to rest, her grief plain on her face. Thor vows vengeance, solemnly declaring he will avenge Hank's suffering and loss. Loki's absence only leaves behind smoldering ruins and bitter promises. The scene shifts to present day. In the Arkansas sunlight, the Avengers' massive stockade fortress looms, isolated from the general population, a reminder that though the world needs them, it doesn't trust them. Inside, Alexander Swan, once a British secret agent and now known as Black Knight, reflects bitterly. He questions whether leaving London was worth it, lamenting how little gratitude they receive despite all their sacrifices. Smoking in the shadows, his thoughts are sharp and cynical. He no longer feels the chivalry that once defined him. At the Avengers stockade, Alexander Swan grumbles through monitor duty when a sudden communique breaks through. It's from S.H.I.E.L.D., and Nick Fury himself urgently calls in, "A crisis has erupted in New York." The alarm blares across the base, jarring young Jimmy Ruiz from his distracted thoughts. At the same moment, Bob Campbell's prototype armor powers up with a mechanical roar, synchronizing with the klaxon's shriek. Elsewhere in the stockade, the warning blends with everyday life. A red-haired woman showers unaware of the crisis until her features transform, her skin shifting to chrome as she becomes Topaz, ready for action. Wasp, preparing alongside her teammates, insists it's time for work. Dismissing any casual chatter, she takes to the air in her bright costume, lightheartedly sparring with her companions but fully aware of the gravity beneath their levity. In the control room, the team gathers. Quicksilver, Swan, Topaz, and Wasp, now going by Black Widow. Their banter stops cold as they stare at the screen, a horrific broadcast from the middle of New York. The city is devastated, littered with corpses, with bodies hanging in the streets. The sight shocks them all. Janet gasps, recognizing the hand behind this after all these years. Loki. As his mocking image fills the monitor, Swan grimly admits the truth, and the team realizes the dire threat before them. When the call for backup is raised, Jan shocks Swan with a bolt, coldly answering no. Swan rages over being cut off from backup, but Jan is firm. This fight is theirs, and Loki belongs to them. Thor reinforces her words, declaring the right of holy revenge, and the team steels itself for battle. With determination, they launch from the stockade in their craft, cutting through storm clouds towards New York City. Inside, tensions flare. Quicksilver impatiently urges more speed. Swan growls for silence, and concern turns briefly to Jan, who answers coldly that she's fine. In the heart of the city, Loki reveals himself, his mind fractured and spewing deranged thoughts. He howls threats of killing and burning, his broken psyche ranting with madness and rage. The people of New York panic in terror as fire and destruction follow his path. Thor realizes grimly that his past blow did not kill his brother, but only shattered his sanity. Above the city skyline, Prototype's armored form confronts the god, blasting him with devastating firepower and calling him out with cold precision. Fall over. The explosion hurls Loki into the streets below. He rises battered but laughing through the rubble, boasting of 10 years spent waiting for this moment. But Quicksilver is already on him, in a blur, pummeling Loki with rapid strikes and refusing to back down. Swan urges caution, but Pietro brushes him off, declaring he's on a roll. Jan shouts at him to retreat before he pushes too far, but Quicksilver presses the attack headlong, reckless and unyielding. Swan lines up for a shot, but shouts in frustration as Pietro's speed blocks his aim. Ignoring the warning, Quicksilver calls out to Jan that he has Loki penned, only for Jan to scream his name in alarm. Loki sneers, whispering, "Die," and unleashes a devastating blast that sends Quicksilver hurtling through the air. Prototype swoops in just in time to catch the falling speedster, while Swan mutters that at least it got Loki to move. Loki snarls from the wreckage, only to be struck by blasts from Jan. She spits venom at him, unleashing years of pent-up rage, while Thor hovers overhead, summoning the storm. Thor calls for Jan to hold Loki while he gathers his power, but Loki snatches her from the air and crushes her in his grip. She screams in agony, his madness recalling Hank Pym's fate, while Swan fights to get a clear shot through a scope. Loki hurls her aside violently, sending her crashing into the debris as Swan curses him as a psychopath. Thor strikes next, Mjolnir cracking down in a thunderous blow that rocks the city. He declares Loki has done enough, and that the gods themselves will spit on him for his crimes. Loki only raves, defiant, even as the team rallies. Swan opens fire, his shots slamming into Loki alongside a barrage from Prototype's armor. Jan, shaken but furious, screams for them to waste him, to tear him apart completely. United in rage, the Avengers rain destruction down on the Mad God. Prototype and Thor smash through the rubble only to realize Loki has slipped away again. Thor corrects his teammate grimly. Loki is not just the Mad Guy. His true name is Mischief. The trickster has already fled through the city, his presence like a stench Thor can still sense. Outside, chaos erupts as Topaz confronts him mid-destruction, unleashing her power in a furious blast. She demands to know why Loki brings only pain and horror, to which he sneers because he knows the truth of this world. To him, it's all deviance, and he hurls that accusation back at her before the battlefield trembles again. Suddenly, everything ruptures. The world folds in upon itself like paper being crumbled by a vast, unseen hand. Reality twists into a wheel of blinding light, as if God himself had snapped the world's fabric. The Avengers are caught in the collapse, bodies flung helplessly through a kaleidoscope of collapsing spaces. Around them reigns a storm of soldiers and shattered iconography from another America, blending into a surreal storm of imagery. The very essence of reality feels as though it has taken a bullet to the head. And then, just as quickly, it all reverses. The fold unravels like a rose blooming, and the team unceremoniously is dumped back into the streets. They hit the ground hard, dazed but alive, groaning from the impact. Thor steadies himself while the others groggily pull themselves to their feet. Swan mutters with dry humor, "Ouch, right on the arse too." Thor remarks that the sky itself looked broken while Topaz and Jan search for answers. Jan demands to know if Loki is dead, whether they finally destroyed him, while Quicksilver staggers, complaining of a splitting headache. Then, in sudden horror, he screams. Bursting from the ground around them are grotesque human heads, half-formed and still warm, staring blankly as if torn from another world. Swan grimly notes that they're everywhere, the nightmare spreading around them. Trying to regroup, Swan orders them to get organized and raise either Fury or the stockade while sending Prototype into the air for reconnaissance. But when the armored hero surveys the city, his words chill the team. If this is New York, then it's been drastically changed. Towering signs and billboards display strange new names and faces, including one that reads UltraForce. With unfamiliar heroes staring down from the skyline, Jan realizes they aren't alone. Her warning punctuated by a violent shift in the air as the city seems itself unstable. She calls out for Loki, convinced this is another of his tricks. But before she can regain control, Jan collapses mid-flight, her body shifting uncontrollably between forms. Quicksilver catches her and warns her condition is too unstable for her healing powers to compensate. She shoves him off defensively, but the team watches with alarm as she weakens. Then their attention shifts to a massive new arrival. A towering, muscular man clad in red and gold emerging from the rubble with Contrary at his side. Thor stares in shock, recognizing the figure as Hank Pym. Yet changed, transformed. Contrary gestures and whispers, "Look, Hank, the strange woman appears to know you." Janet stares in shock at Hank, but he gently tells her he is not her Hank. Contrary explains with unsettling calm that the truth is more complicated. She is not an illusion, but the bearer of knowledge. Swan levels his gun at her, demanding answers, and she sighs before beginning her tale. It all started with Loki. Loki and the Grandmaster had played a cosmic game for possession of the 6 reality gems, artifacts of unimaginable power. To aid them, teams of heroes, the Avengers and the Ultraverse's UltraForce, were drawn into battle like pawns on a chessboard. But the Grandmaster had another plan. With the help of Cersei, he uncovered a 7th Infinity Gem, previously unknown. This gem, combined with the others, awakened their true form, a sentient entity called Nemesis. This being declared its desire to create, forging a miniature universe as a mere sketch. Forcing the heroes to witness her power firsthand, Swan protests that such a thing couldn't have been real, but the woman insists. Nemesis manipulated matter itself, reshaping it at will, while keeping them enthralled. When Topaz made physical contact with Loki during the unstable events, the fragile construct snapped, shattering the balance between worlds. The collapse stunned Nemesis, destroying the vast space habitat they were trapped in. She teleported in panic, bringing the heroes with her back to Earth. Now, Contrary explains this Earth, the Ultraverse Earth, is her true origin, and Nemesis has not stopped. Her intention is to continue creating, but doing so may erase this world entirely. She warns them gravely, Nemesis is utterly mad. And to make matters worse, Hank Pym's displaced presence proves the damage runs deeper than anyone realized. Swan orders a scan to verify her words, and prototype sensors confirm it. A power source of impossible magnitude is active. The team steels itself, grim and determined. Swan cocks his weapon, stating flatly, "That's it then, let's get some." Quicksilver speeds through the city, unsure of which direction to take until he comes upon a grim scene. Bodies littering the ground. Nearby, Black Knight sits slumped in despair. Crystal calls out to him with relief. This is the 616 Black Knight, by the way. But when she approaches, he warns her to stay back. Tearfully, she explains she was scared and couldn't find the others, but Dane's attention is fixed on the weapon before him. A strange, twisted sword that radiates menace. He recalls how Nemesis's teleportation field threw him there, and when he landed, the sword was already in his grasp. The weapon whispers to him, a cousin of the Ebony Blade from another Earth, carrying the same dark curse. Suddenly, Proctor appears with a gun aimed at him. Acting on instinct, Dane strikes, only to realize too late that this was not his Proctor. This version was already half materialized into a wall. Yet the sword still drank blood, and now, just like before, Dane is bound to it. Crystal watches in fear as he admits the blade has claimed him again. The tension rises further when a figure steps into the alley. Vision, but not the Vision they know. This version coldly remarks on their situation and leaves without another word. Crystal clings to Dane, shaken, realizing that things are deeply wrong. Parallel versions of people are colliding, the walls between worlds are breaking down. As Vision departs, Dane steels himself, gripping the cursed sword with grim purpose. There's no time left for confusion or grief. It is time once again for him to be the Black Knight. Quicksilver races through the city, trying to make sense of the chaos and escape his thoughts, but his focus shatters when he spots a figure flying ahead. Someone resembling Thor. But quickly he realizes it isn't his Thor at all. He then sees a man dressed as a priest wielding a cross like Mjolnir. Shocked, Pietro can only think that his father warned him there would be days like this. Elsewhere, Alex Swan calls out over the Avengers comm system, demanding to know if anyone else is out there. His answer comes in the form of Captain America himself, who confidently introduces himself and confirms Swan as the Black Knight of the Sketch World. Cap cautions Swan to mind his language, grounding the moment with his steady authority. As events escalate, heroes from across realities begin to converge. Different versions of Avengers and Ultraverse members arrive, pulled together as the walls between worlds collapse. Captain America observes that Nemesis is still manipulating reality, tearing down barriers, and alternate versions of their teams are flooding in from everywhere. Despite the confusion, all of them instinctively understand their purpose and their destination. The next image is a sprawling double-page spread of chaos and power. Heroes and variants from across both universes charge forward in unison, an overwhelming army assembled for what is clearly the ultimate confrontation. The scale is massive, capturing the sense that every Avenger, every Ultraverse hero, and their multiversal counterparts have arrived for one decisive battle. Nemesis stands at the heart of Manhattan, her power overwhelming as she screams and rages, her form ablaze with chaotic energy. The 7 Infinity Gems swirl around her, their sentient voices clawing at her mind, distorting her focus and corrupting her purpose. She was meant to create on a blank canvas, but instead she is reshaping an already existing world, turning her creation into madness. Her fury grows, blinding her to the rumbling of thousands of feet approaching. The united forces of heroes strike hard, the sound of weapons and powers colliding like gods shaking the earth. Thor's hammer and countless other weapons crash against Nemesis in a chaotic first assault, unleashing destruction across the battlefield. The fight is fierce but disorganized, their blows landing with force yet lacking coordination. As heroes struggle to press the attack, Nemesis retaliates with brutal swiftness, overwhelming them. She taunts Pietro directly, her power striking him with cruel familiarity, disintegrating him, even as Captain America urges for teamwork amid the chaos. Nemesis sneers at their defiance, dismissing their efforts as futile. To her, they are mere materials, sticks and tissue to be shaped, broken, or destroyed. She recognizes their intent to end her, but her resolve hardens. She declares herself the embodiment of creation. With chilling finality, she vows that if death is to come, it will be of her own making. Her power lashes out again, tearing into the heroes with a merciless wave of energy. The battle against Nemesis surges forward with mounting desperation. Deep in Manhattan, Nemesis rants and raves, overwhelmed by her own function to create. Without balance, her art becomes chaos. Despite the chaos, resolve hardens among the heroes. The Black Knight and his allies begin to form a plan. They must cut through the storm and get close enough to split the gems from her crown. With Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and the others rallying, the strike force gathers for a coordinated assault. Crystal, watching Dane prepare for what might be a suicide mission, breaks down, realizing the cost he is ready to pay. Still, the Black Knight steps forward with grim determination. As Nemesis unleashes her cosmic fury, the heroes, united in strategy and driven by desperation, launch a renewed, focused attack. This time striking not with chaos, but with intelligence, organization, and a searing hatred for the threat before them. The Black Knight fights on. Standing as a bridge between the Avengers and UltraForce, both teams rally to defend him, unwilling to abandon their comrade, even as Nemesis hurls her full contempt against them. Her fury grows until with a scream she declares she will erase the entire plane of existence. Her face twists with rage as she sneers that humanity doesn't deserve survival, but in that moment, the heroes answer with quiet defiance. Perhaps they don't deserve it, but they will fight for it regardless. The battle crescendos as Nemesis begins to fracture. The gems blaze with uncontrollable energy, lines of pure force streaking outward in every direction. The system can no longer contain itself. With a blinding detonation, Nemesis splits open, the air set aflame as her vast creative power is unleashed all at once. Heroes and villains alike reel from the explosion, staring in awe and terror. A shockwave ripples outward, carrying with it not destruction, but transformation. A shockwave of something entirely new. And so, everything begins again. The narration stretches across time and space as the universe reshapes itself. Life and death bloom together. An asteroid crashes upon Earth, scattering nanotech machines that alter the planet's destiny. Eons later, in a European field, those same machines transform a primitive man into the being who will call himself Rex Mundi, self-proclaimed king of the world. Beyond Earth, the God Wheel spins around its twin stars, altered by what was transpired, as the cycle of creation turns once more. The world spins onward, centuries passing as the aftermath of Nemesis's collapse reshapes reality. The device on the moon sends out waves of energy, its jumpstart effect awakening power in random individuals. Ordinary people transform into beings of superhuman ability. On this Earth, they are known as Ultras. And even they are not spared from the lingering shockwave of creation. Across the world, no one remains untouched. At Avengers Mansion, Quicksilver frantically works to locate his missing allies. Suddenly, the rest of the Avengers reappear, bewildered, only to be swept into the arms of loved ones. Cersei cannot explain what happened, only that she feels a void in her memory, as though something crucial has slipped away. Around her, the Avengers share the same unease. Faint recollections of events they can't fully grasp. Still, they cling to one another, determined to move forward in this reshaped world. Beyond their walls, the city itself bears quiet signs of change, marked with the tide of what has come. Meanwhile, in another place, the remaining members of UltraForce gather as the sun rises. Exhausted but alive, they reflect on what they've endured. Memories of the Avengers flicker faintly, though details slip away like water through their fingers. Topaz laments the fading clarity, while Ghoul admits he can only recall fragments, vague impressions of death and battle. Prototype, armor now manned by its original maker Bob Campbell, tries to hold on but falters, unable to remember. In the end, Hardcase gently dismisses the questions, urging them to let it go. Together, the team watches the dawn, weary survivors in a world subtly remade, greeting the sunrise of what comes next. The story closes with the dawn of a new day. The sun rises slowly, its warmth spilling across the world, banishing the darkness of the night before. The surviving heroes of UltraForce stand together, their faces lifted toward the light. Hardcase, Topaz, Ghoul, Prototype, and others silent but united. The narration reflects the moment's peace. The sun comes up, slow and lazy, warming the whole world through. It's a beautiful morning. As their silhouettes glow in the rising light, the final panels emphasize renewal. The last world carries a promise, not an ending, but a beginning. Begin. All right, here we go. We are getting ready to head into our third and final issue right before Black September officially starts. Countdown. Part 5 of 5. This is UltraForce Avengers #1. Our creative team, on sale date, September 14th, 1995. Our creative team. There's a couple names you're going to recognize, but there's a lot of names that are on this, credited for this. So, written by Warren Ellis, art by George Pérez, and inked by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think is 9. I'll read them. Paul Neary, Art Taber, Ken H. Branch, Dennis Jansen, Carl Kessel, Robin Riggs, John Statema, and Alvey on inks. Yeah. And then we have lettered by Todd Klein, colored by Robert Alvord and Emily Canals. As we're getting into this third part, our fifth and final part of Black September, the story is called Becoming More Like a God. Our cover is a front and back piece. This interconnects with the other issue that we just talked about. Anything stand out to you on the cover here?
I'm going to be slightly critical.
Uh-oh.
You know what? I'm not. I'm changing my mind in midstream.
Well, that's good. All right, then.
Because normally when I look at this, I'm thinking that Thor is hitting Kevin Green with the hammer in like a really awkward motion, swinging it up.
It's not it, though. That's not it.
What it is. It's actually Cap's shield has been, I guess, trajectory. The shield hits Thor's hammer and then smashes into Kevin's face, or to Prime's face, and then slides down to where these Elastahands are grabbing it. I've always thought that was awkward, the way Thor was hitting him with his hammer, but that isn't actually what's going on.
It's
now
so
I'm
funny.
now I'm not going to complain at all.
That stood out to me yesterday when I was looking at this. Why is his hammer all the way up here?
Yeah.
And then, I didn't even follow it. There is the shield. Wow. Got all sorts of crazy looking characters. By the way, Contrary and Star Fox still making out.
Oh, yeah.
Right there on the cover.
Can't keep their hands off each other. Don't forget Captain Nazi.
Yeah, you got Captain Nazi sitting over here on the left-hand side. These cards, oh my goodness. That's bad news over there. Nemesis bringing everything together here in the middle. Now, mind you, we get treated to what I talked about earlier kind of happens a few years in the past of this reality. Yeah. And then I think it's like 20 years pass or something.
It doesn't say. It just says today.
Oh, no, yeah, so 10 years ago.
Oh, 10 years.
There we go. So this is happening 10 years ago where we get this fight where Loki gets the Hulk, which, by the way, we are dealing with alternate
This is amalgam before amalgam, baby.
There you go. Amalgamized characters here. We got the Hulk, which looks like a cross between Ghoul and Hulk here. I don't know if I have it listed here as to who makes up the Avengers, but we could run it down real quick. Let me see as we go down here.
It's basically the original Avengers, except Prototype is in there in Iron Man's place.
We have Alexander Swan, though.
I mean, in the 10 years ago.
Oh, gosh, you're right.
So it's like a rehash of Avengers #1, where Loki is fighting the gathered heroes of Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, the Wasp, and Giant Man.
We have so much I want to talk about. Look at Prototype's armor. Looks like a cross between Prototype's armor and a Sentinel, which
cool.
Hulk and Ghoul make up a really cool looking monster. I mean, Hank and Jan are pretty much the same. I don't think there's much different there.
I do like the Loki and Thor redesigns where they're more like Vikings.
Yeah.
They look very cool.
Loki ends up I think Hulk ends up killing Giant Man, I believe. Or maybe it was Loki that does it. Loki's okay. Yeah. Either way, Thor had enough of his crap and took the hammer to him, and Loki's gone. And so 10 years later, here we are, it's today, and now our new Avenger team consists of Alexander Swan, which was Firearm, correct?
Correct.
They have Prototype, which is being helmed by Jimmy Ruiz in the Prototype 2.0 armor. We have Topaz, which can turn her skin to chrome. That's happening here in this reality. We have Jan, who's given up the Wasp identity, is now going by Black Widow.
I like that as a nod to, her being a widow now.
Yeah. And then we have her, she's fooling around, I guess. I don't know, dating Quicksilver.
Seems to be.
Yep. So Quicksilver a part of this team. And I think that, of course, we got Thor. Thor is still a member of the Avengers here as well. Holy crap, does stuff get dark in this issue.
Well, this is Warren Ellis.
Yep.
Kind of cutting his teeth on superhero comics.
Yeah. So we have our alternate Avengers amalgamized UltraForce team. Who end up, when they get... After they smite Loki or try to kill him, stuff happens to where the worlds fade away. Then they come back, and people have fallen into things through walls. It's gruesome.
It's clearly a situation. I wonder if maybe Pérez has done a similar thing in one of the other big crossovers he did, maybe at DC, where it's like these universes have melded together. If I'm transported into another Earth in my living room, that might be in the middle of a wall, New York, in another universe. So we've got a guy's head sticking out of a street lamp, and bodies just melded with the environment everywhere. It's really unsettling. I do want to point out, let me see if I can find it. It's early on. I think, it's before the 10 years later, even after Kevin Green sees the Hulk attack thing in the paper and he sends the emails out. We see an alternate Fantastic Four that I really like.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not certain who the bald guy is. I'm assuming Professor X. But if that's the case, he's the only mutant in this book.
Oh, yeah.
Spectre from The Strangers is there instead of Johnny Storm. Susan has the stretch powers, and they call her Susan, so I'm assuming it's Sue Storm. And it's clearly Ben Grimm in the female Mantra body smoking his stogie. I really like that version of the Fantastic Four. There's a scene where the Vision is revealed for the first time in this book. It's one of these guys fused with the brick wall, and there's a 3-panel sequence where Vision is walking through this wall until his face overtakes that guy's face. It's really creepy looking. His body is a lot of just exposed wires. And I don't know what's going on with Dane's sword. It looks like there's a swastika on there. I'm assuming that's a different symbol that just kind of looks like a swastika, but not the best choice. And of course, speaking of swastikas, there's a page that has a lot of these different amalgam type characters showing up. And one of them is Captain America with a big swastika on his chest and on his shield, but he's still got the A on his head. So I guess he's living in the fascist states of America.
Oh, jeez.
We get and this page is got a lot of interesting stuff on it. In the top left corner, there's what looks to be a Thanos combined with somebody else. I'm not sure who his Ultraverse counterpart is. Same thing with the Silver Surfer on the other side.
Yeah, that's a cool.
And then Maestro is in there. We've got a Ben Grimm as the Thing, but he's got a UF on his shoulder pad. Maybe that's supposed to be Hardcase as the Thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you had pointed out the Moon Knight Man, that amalgam.
Right there.
There's a Spider-Man character with an Avengers jacket on underneath Prime there, which isn't even colored, so it's kind of hard to see. In addition to Thor flying through the air, we have a Christian Thor.
Yeah.
This a Catholic priest, instead of a hammer, he's got a big wooden cross.
So I want that story. I want a one shot of that guy just to figure out, okay, because we got the Norse gods. This would just be like God showed up and be like, okay, here you go. Here's your magic cross. Oh, interesting.
The other thing that's interesting is this big 2-page splash that has all the characters sort of together. At this point, they're not amalgamized anymore, or at least most of them aren't. It does look like Firearm still has the leather trench coat with the Avengers symbol on it. But there's also a ton of creator-owned characters in this splash page, which I thought was interesting. Like, you see Mighty Magnor and Ash up at the top, the Joe Quesada character.
Okay.
Towards the bottom right is Gru.
There's Gru.
Black and White, who are Art Taber's creator-owned characters that he published with Image, with the Extreme Studios. On the left-hand side, right behind Captain America, there's a man called Axe character that's part of Bravura.
What's a Bravura?
So yeah, a lot of weird, like, I'm not sure why some of these characters are included. It seems kind of random, but it's also kind of interesting that they're in there.
Right.
Breed is another Bravura character. And the woman with the skull on her shoulder, beside Vision, that is the Crimson Plague character, which is George Pérez's creator-owned book.
Oh, interesting.
I don't remember her name, but she's like the main character of that book. So this might be her first appearance. I don't know if Crimson Plague had ever been published before this or not.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's all the specific things I had. I'm sure I'll think of other stuff as I come through it. What do you got?
Number one, the art's great. I love that this is what we came to the dance for. They saved it to the very end. Warren Ellis has some real body horror stuff going on. I know it's George putting this stuff on the page, but this is some creepy stuff.
Yeah, at one point, Loki catches Black Widow, who pulls one of her wings off.
And this one doesn't hold back. You are not getting any of this in the previous issues. Like, they were like, okay, hey, Warren Ellis is like, I'm going to tell a story here, and you're going to
get as dark as you want. None of this is going to matter, so just get as dark as you want. We're resetting everything at the end anyway.
This guy that was stuck in the wall that you mentioned that Vision kind of crawls out of, that's Proctor.
I
believe, he says, I realized it wasn't my Proctor exactly 5 seconds after I struck. I think he hits Proctor with the blade, and the next thing he knows, like, the dude is stuck in the wall. So, there's creepy stuff happening all through this. I put This Ain't Your Daddy's Avengers. I like our amalgamized Avengers here. When Jan is completely wrecked and out for blood, Loki is gone mad, and they are trying to unload on Loki before all of this other crap starts happening. She's just screaming, I want him dead. Kill him. Yeah. Kill him. It definitely is a different tone than the other two books we had prior to this. This is the Malibu published side of things. I think Malibu published this part. It's 1995. I don't know how much stock they're putting into the Comics Code Authority. It seems like the Malibu side of things was just like, we could tell what we want here. At the very end of this, we're pretty much told it's going to be a beginning. She kind of rewrites anything. There is one thing I wanted to point out at the end, and you probably picked up on it too. When we started this battle, by the end of it, the two universes are separated again. They're separated again. The UltraForce, we're getting things kind of ready for what's going to be happening in Marvel.
All the books get reset with new number ones. Well, I think they all start with Infinity issues.
So Prototype goes to pick up his helmet, and he goes, how much of all this are you, or I think, who is this? I don't know if this is Ghoul or if this is Black Knight asking him. Prototype, how much of all of this are you still recalling? We're losing it fast. And as he picks it up, he goes, "What was the question again?" And then Black Knight looks at him and says, "Forget it, Bob." We're back to Bob Campbell.
Right.
So, yeah, we're kind of getting things.
I don't think Jimmy Ruiz ever comes back after.
Contrary doesn't either. Notice Contrary's not in that picture.
Yeah, you're right. I do think he appears in the later Ultraverse, but I don't know that for certain. It's been a long time since I've read them.
I'll let you know as we get into Black September.
The page before that, where it shows the jumpstart effect and everything, there are also these 3 panels at the bottom. One with Mantra, one with Siren, and one with Nightman. That is a little preview of what's going to be going on with them post Black September, because I believe Siren ends up in the Marvel Universe, whereas Nightman, there's one in the Marvel Universe and one stays in the Ultraverse.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Of course, Mantra becomes, this different character that leads to some problems later.
Yeah. All right, let's pick a panel and we'll be done. What do you got? I'm leaving it up to you.
Go page 7, panel 2. That's the giant man with a big flaming hole in his chest, and all the Avengers kind of crowding around him, except for Thor with his eyes on Loki, who has just done the deed.
Yeah,
that's what I got.
That's a good one. I'm trying to find it here. It's not looking good. Mine is this one. 2-page spread. I think the first one we get.
Oh, yeah.
First off, George is doing George stuff in this issue. He has gone insane with character after character, and this piece is wild. Like, some characters are barely there, so I'm sure this is probably overlaid some way. I don't know, but it looks...
There's some computer effects in there and stuff, but yeah, very cool. Like, it's kind of showing all these characters melding together. It's just kind of showing these universes melding together.
We got the gems up at the top, and we have Loki with his laugh, and then all these characters, the new Avengers, who look the most solid out of these. And then we have all the other amalgamized characters. We see some Marvel Universe characters over here, some Ultraverse characters up here. So there you go. 2-page spread, pretty easy to pick.
One other thing I wanted to point out on the first page that's in the, I guess, present, where it goes from the 10 years ago to today or whatever, and we see the Avengers stockade in Arkansas. I think the UltraForce base ends up being there when that series picks up, which I think Warren Ellis is the writer on. When they're showing the halls of the Avengers stockade, we see there's what is her name from The Strangers? I always used to say Ural, but I don't know. You pronounced it in a way that sounded better when we did the Strangers issue back in the day, a year or two ago.
I remember how it's spelled.
Maybe.
How do you spell it?
Yrial or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Uriel or something. Okay.
I
barely
see a picture
remember.
of her on the wall. And then there's a statue of Power Man, which seems to be an amalgam of Luke Cage and Prime. He's got the tiara and the chain belt, but he's got the Prime symbol and cape. He doesn't have the proportions of Prime, though.
Yeah, he does not. Definitely does not. I didn't even notice that. That's pretty cool. Good.
That's Pérez putting those details in.
All right. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. We're going to come back, though. Our plan is to come back and talk about our first round of Black September Infinity issues. So be ready, folks. We'll come back at some point later to talk more Black September. Until then, keep celebrating 30th anniversary. If you want to celebrate it, maybe have another funeral. Maybe you're still in mourning. Wear black all month. I think that's something to do with fashion too, if I remember correctly. But yeah, all right. Well, let's go ahead. We'll get into plugs here. Why don't you go ahead and tell them what you got going on over there, Chris Armstrong.
I got another podcast I do with my buddy AJ called Small Screeners, where we talk about direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies. We also have a podcast called Because Movies, where we talk about whatever movie stuff we feel like. You find those on your podcatcher of choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, go check out the Source Material Comics feed. We have all sorts of great shows here, including Unspoken Issues, which is dedicated to 90s comics. We talk comics of any era over on the Source Material Comics podcast. And if you like Marvel Snap, that wonderful game on your mobile device, we have Snap Material where myself and Evan Bevins get together and talk Marvel Snap. With that being said, we're getting out of here. Black September rolls on. Over there is Chris Armstrong. I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Bye-bye.